Einen wunderschönen guten Morgen nach Österreich. Bună dimineața în Romania. And good morning to everyone. And I guess today we're going to speak in English. English is our common language, and we're going to stick to English today with all the speakers. I want to welcome you very warmly here from Advantage Austria, Romania, Austria's official trade promotion organization in Romania, to the webinar of Robotic Process Automation. Robotic Process Automation is a big topic. We are not only in Romania or in Austria now under pressure in terms of efficiency, but globalization made us have more efficiency in our processes. And today we're going to talk about two different types of processes. We're going to talk about robotic process automation in data, in your computer systems, in the IT. But we opened up the topic also towards robotic process automation in terms of industrial processes. So what does it mean in terms of industrial processes? What can you shortcut with robots, with cobots, and so on? And we have a lineup of really good speakers today. We're very happy to have them with us today. And I'm going to introduce the speakers to you for one moment. The first one is going to be Mr. Johannes Becker, partner of TPA Romania. He's going to introduce us into robotic process automation. What does it actually mean? What can it do for my company? What is the return on investment there? And he will give us a few of the positive effects and show us how you can implement such a project via one of your consultants. After that, we're going to have the world market leader in robotic process automation, UiPath, a Romanian startup that turned into a unicorn and will go IPO in 2021, is preparing for the IPO next year. But we're not only going into robotic process automation anymore with UiPath and Anatoly Telkici, but Anatoly Telkici is going to introduce us to hyper automation, so the next level of robotic process automation. Programmed automation solutions will be introduced by Kevin van Gram. Kevin van Gram is CEO of International Markets with Entity Data. He will introduce us into Romania as a full service provider for IT services, and will give us some kind of examples, like hands-on, to see what does robotic process automation do, what can you do, and how can you change your processes within the company. After that, we're going to switch over a bit more into the topic of industrial process automation, robotic industrial process automation. And we're going to do this with two companies. One is Cosmic Europe. We're having the sales director today with us, Mr. Wolfgang Herrenhofer. And he's going to tell us about robots, cobots that are in the collaborative robots that are in the processes integrated. And he will tell us what does it mean in terms of mechanical, economical pressures that we have in the processes. How can you put more efficiency and lower costs into those processes? Plus, cycle time reductions, also a big topic. And last but not least, we have Copa Data with us. Copa Data works with SCADA systems and a lot with data, and they talk about put your data to work. We have a lot of data in the factories. We have a lot of data in the production processes. And Copa Data is one of the companies that can turn this data that is being generated by you anyway into process automation, into higher efficiency. We have with us today Johannes Petrovic, Managing Director, CE of Copa Data, and Adrian Bilz, the General Manager of Creatron Automation, which is the partner of Copa Data in Romania. They will tell us more on how to empower your robotic process automation in the factories. And with this, I would like to introduce one more time our speaker from TPA Romania, Johannes Becker. Johannes is with us and will give us an insight into robotic process automation. Johannes, please take the stage.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bonner, for this kind introduction. I'm going to talk a little bit about RPA as robotic process automation and what we as TPA are doing with it for our clients. Now, if we look at how we are working today at the computer, then it means we are retrieving information from the cloud, from the internet. We have our ERP systems, our CRM systems. We have a server somewhere with some files. We have our network. And in the middle of it is a human being who is actually retrieving data or sending data back and retrieving data and sending back data back, and so on and so on. And this is what people are doing. And look how they're doing it. They're doing it like this. They're sitting somewhere at the keyboard and they're typing in things and they're copy pasting them with a mouse, etc., which is basically relatively inefficient, because let's not forget what we pay our people for. We pay them to analyze, to think, and not just to make reports and to complete forms, etc. And this is why we started to look into the topic of RPA, of Robotic Process Automation, because we want to help our employees in our own group, but also the employees of our clients to actually get rid of these relatively boring and repetitive tasks. What RPA is basically doing, it means that we are programming exactly the process that somebody is doing on the computer, and we're using for this a software UiPath. You will have the presentation of UiPath a little bit afterwards. RPA is, of course, not useful for all kinds of processes. There are some basic rules, I would say, that have to be followed by processes that make them actually prone for being automated. It's important, of course, that it's repetitive. It's something that is happening again and again and again. The more often it happens, the more useful is the automation. And it should not have too many exceptions. So it should be a relatively straightforward process. It can have exceptions, of course, that we can include in the programming, but the exceptions should not be too many. It should be reasonably well standardized. So we often have the case with our clients who say, yes, this process is completely standardized, all the forms are the same. And on the first glimpse, it actually looks like this, but when we start automating it and testing it, then we see it is not always like this. And we have then to go back one step and to help the client to standardize the process actually a little bit better. And it has to be stable. This means it should not change every 3 or 4 months, but it should be the same process for a longer period, because otherwise we would have to intervene every time the process changes to adapt the robots that we're programming. And as you've seen in the first slides, it is very, very useful, especially then when you have to combine information and data from different sources. What are the advantages of RPA? Well, basically, I would say one of the main advantages is precision. So in preparing reports, especially when it is a relatively complicated report or complicated process, people make mistakes. Once the robot is working for one process, it will always work. It will not make any mistakes. It is a lot faster than your employees. You will see this at the example that I'm going to show you a little bit later. It is basically always available 24/7. It is never sick. It never goes on holiday. It never has a weekend, and it's never sleeping. So it's actually very, very useful if you have a lot of processes to work on. And very important, of course, you will see that your clients will be more satisfied, because be it that they get a response faster than if the questions and the problems are solved by a human being, or maybe your employees have more time to talk to the clients and to just think together with them on how to improve the situation. And of course, very important, it does not intervene or interfere in your IT infrastructure. It's just something, it is basically an interface that we put on top of all your IT infrastructure without having to change anything and without having to integrate something in a very complicated way. Let's start with the use case. That's actually one of the most complex processes that we have realized for a client. It is the Romanian subsidiary of an Austrian carrier. They have about 200 trucks in Romania that are driving all over Europe. And they have, that was the first process we made for them, they have one specific report that takes a lot of time. And in this report, they compare every month for each of the 200 trucks the GPS data regarding fuel consumption with the information they have in the accounting. On one hand, to discover potential fraud, because apparently it's happened in the past. On the other hand, also just to compare the behavior of driving of the more efficient drivers with the less efficient drivers, and to help the less efficient drivers to become more efficient and to save money for the company by using less diesel fuel. How did the process look like? It was one lady from the controlling department who prepared this every month for all 200 trucks. It took about 15 to 20 minutes for each truck just to prepare this report. With 200 trucks per month, this means about 50 hours per month or 600 hours per year. And this lady was also quite unhappy because she didn't really like to do these repetitive processes. And she did not have enough time, because also this was part of her job, to analyze the processes and to discuss and to analyze the results and to discuss them with the drivers to help them consume less diesel fuel. And of course, she made mistakes in the report. So the company themselves estimated that about 10% of all these reports had mistakes on them. What are we doing with the automation? Basically, copy-paste 100% the same process that the lady did manually, first of all. This means, first of all, our robot is automatically logging into the GPS, the Styltronic system that is somewhere in the cloud. It is searching for data for a specific truck, is retrieving the data, is copying it into an Excel file, then he's logging automatically into the accounting software. Again, it's looking for the data that is related to this truck, is retrieving it, is copying it in the Excel file, and then from this data, it is preparing several different reports. The same 230 clicks like before, but instead of 15 to 20 minutes, it takes now 45 seconds. And if you multiply it with the 200 trucks per month, we are at 2.5 hours or 30 hours per year, so which is a lot less. So if you look at the overall results, the company actually saves 570 working hours per year, and this is approximately 4 months of human work. Huge, huge advantage. One little thing I have to say here, because most of the clients come to us who want us to automate something, think of reducing the cost for the personnel, which is not the case in most situations, because you do not want to fire somebody or something like this. No, you want to help people to be more efficient. And also in this case, so the lady has the same salary, she's still there. The only thing is that she has more time now to analyze reports, she has more time now to discuss with the drivers and not to prepare the reports. So we have made a small calculation. If they manage to reduce the fleet consumption by 0.1 liters per 100 kilometers per year, which is not much for a truck, then they make a saving of 20,000 euro per year, which is a lot more than the entire automation actually costs. And there are 0 mistakes, and you have a happy employee. A few examples what automation can be used for. Classically, I mentioned a few already. Migrating data is something that's a little bit atypical, I would say, because it's something you do once, but it can take a lot of time, and automation can make a lot of sense there. Also verification of data, also some security applications. Which areas are we using it for? Well, basically any area in a company where people are moving data from A to B and C, etc. I just have here some examples. The classical examples, of course, are finance and controlling and human resources, but I see very few areas of a company where it cannot be used. When we started working with UiPath about 1.5 years ago, UiPath had 4 products. Now look at this, now we have about 20 products. So we have developed a lot of new products that are all related to automation and to RPA, and that as a whole are named hyper-automation, which you will hear more in detail in the next presentation. For us, and with this I'm concluding it, I want to use this very nice slogan that I've borrowed from UiPath. They say, if you hate it, automate it. So if you have some processes in your company that nobody is happy doing and that really consume a lot of time and that people want to get rid of, then think about if it would not be possible to automate it. And if you come to us, we can easily and very quickly analyze a process and come forward with an offer and with a possibility for automation. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Johannes Becker from TPA Romania. On the slide we have, if you hate it, automate it. But if you already automate it, hyper-automate it. And this is what is going to be shown by our next speaker. And we go into hyper-automation right now. The world market leader in robotic process automation, UiPath, Romania's first unicorn, and maybe going for an IPO next year. We're really happy to have you with us. And Anatolia Tilkici, I'll hand over to you now. You're already online, as I see. Wonderful. Please turn your microphone on. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Baumer, for the introduction, and I thank everybody for their participation and interest. Today, I wanted to talk more about hyper-automation, what it actually means, and how it can create benefits for the organizations and companies in today's world. But first, let me just say a few more words about our company. Indeed, the company has its roots in Bucharest. It was created in a small apartment, and now, in the meantime, became a decacorn, and one of the pioneers and leaders of the RPA market with a global presence. Our success is mainly and also driven by the fact that organizations started to embrace automation in an era where integrations became time and cost consuming. Also, it became very hard to squeeze efficiency and productivity out of existing IT landscapes. And it was a very hard time and task to execute an organization-wide digital transformation program. Given the fact that with RPA, you can analyze, build, and scale up and manage very fast. Things change dramatically, and now automation is something that is pretty accessible and easy to use. Let's get back to the concept of hyperautomation. So what is actually hyperautomation? Basically, it means an orchestrated and well-governed environment of multiple machine learning, AI skills, RPA software packages that can deliver an end-to-end automation. Hyperautomation also refers to the steps of the automation, which means in order to discover the process and go through all the steps, analyzing, designing, automating, measuring, and then reassessing, and go back again to discovery. Now let's see why we find RPA at the core of automation. Let's take, for example, and Mr. Becker mentioned it already, but I just want to emphasize it because it's really important. We use different applications in order to process and execute different processes. Let's say we have 6 applications that are currently being used for executing that process. Previously, in order to automate it, we had to integrate them. As you can imagine, the integration of 6 different applications could take a lot of time, and it comes at a great cost. And very often these integrations are even abandoned. There is an opposite situation with RPA. It comes as a layer of automation on top of the existing applications. You don't have to change your existing IT landscapes or hardcore anything. This is an agnostic technology that can interact with almost all the applications in Windows using their own credentials. On top of RPA, as you can see, we can have another layer, and we can add many cutting-edge digital tools that can boost even further our automation journey. There are existing UiPath cognitive tools. As Mr. Becker mentioned, there are several tools which you could use from UiPath, or there are other tools which we have integrations with, and these are our technological partners, and they have different technologies in AI, OCR, NLP, machine learning, conversational platforms like voice-to-text or chatbots. So what actually happens? Let's take, for example, how RPA will work with machine learning. It could be easily integrated where RPA robots will feed the ML machine learning algorithm with data from different applications, and this way allow the machine learning to create, for example, predictive analysis, better predictive analysis. Or in customer service, imagine that we integrate the chatbot with RPA. The chatbot will be responsible for the communication, and the RPA behind will gather all the data from different systems for the chatbot, and will feed the chatbot so the chatbot can work fluently and very fast in interaction with the customer or the employee. Let's take the intelligent OCR, where you have thousands of different invoices of different formats which you have to process, and this will allow you to, when RPA and OCR will allow you to extract the data with the intelligent OCR from those invoices and scans, and further on, the RPA robots will manipulate the data and do everything you want to reconcile the data or move the data into different systems. That is why the RPA layer is at the core of hyperautomation. It automates the routine while enabling the technological cognitive capabilities for future automations. Let me just move a bit further. Okay, so from a UiPath perspective, we prepared our platform in order to enable all the stages with different tools that will allow you to automate fast and at scale. So you could have 2 approaches in the discovery stage, for example, which will mean that you can automate and gather ideas in a bottom-up approach or top-down approach. So the bottom-up will be automation hub, task capture, task mining. The top-down will be the process mining. You can very easily build with intuitive interfaces and within the studio and different studios we have. You can manage very easy at scale and govern all the automations that you have within your company with the use of the orchestrator. You have some different AI capabilities that you could use as well. There are the robots that are actually running the workflows, and you could make automation for an end-to-end process where users and your robots will interact in the same environment, when robots will need a validation, confirmation, or maybe approval from the users themselves. Okay. Besides the capabilities of the platform, which are quite wide, we have several other elements in the ecosystem which are actually allowing us to enable it very fast. So you have a free online academy, you have a forum, you have a huge community worldwide which are actually engaging in automating. You have a marketplace where you can exchange different automations and partial automations with other users. And we have our business partners that help our customers to implement it faster and to grow the expertise within their companies. We have a partner today with us as well. Let's get further to the next question, which is really important from when we get it a lot from our customers. So what do we automate? Mr. Becker already mentioned some areas where you can automate. There are some other areas, and we can have even heat maps which are spread across all the tasks in different functions in different departments. So as the technology is agnostic, you could automate it in every department you think of. Every routine, mundane, highly repetitive, or highly volume job, these could be automated. I'll just showcase some examples as well, just to get it quick to. Okay, so now I have it. So just a couple of examples, what can automation actually bring you in? So benefits, as you can see. So we have the purchase center automation, for example, which was robotized at 100% degree. As you can see, the return on investment are less than 1 year. We even have return on investments in 2 months, 3 months from the implementation, 100% accuracy, and the robots process the information from 10 to 70 times faster. Another topic which actually enables the hyper-automation is a vision of ours and a strategy of ours that means a robot for every person, like it was previously, I don't know, a laptop or smartphone for every person, and 10 years ago, not everybody had a smartphone. But today we are thinking about the idea of a robot for every person, where we believe that automation can help and has to help every employee to do their job better and in a more creative way and with much more value-added tasks. So we can gain as a company cost savings and efficiency. We can bring in the quality to the next level, and we can increase the satisfaction on the employee, therefore the satisfaction of our customers. It can bring benefits at the departmental level as well as at the organization level. So let me take this example further, and let's say that, for example, we will have on a calculation for on an average gross salary in Romania, and we will assume that 20 minutes per day we will save with the robot. So this will bring us for each employee for average of 576 euros saved per year. That means that if you have a company with 2,500 employees, it brings us in 1 year to 1.4 million of savings, which is quite, this is one of the cases where the small numbers are actually creating a big difference.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you have the same problem. Anatoly Delkici dropped out of the presentation, but I guess we were at the end of his presentation because the next slide is the thank you slide that we already saw. Anatoly Delkici, I also do have a question for you, but I guess we're going to pose it at the end of the Q&A session. But right now, let's go into some examples. And Kevin van Gam went online. He's the CEO for the international markets with Entity Data. Entity Data is all over the world. Maybe not that well known as a brand name, but is also one of the partners of TPA Romania. That is the reason why we chose Entity Data. And Kevin van Gam prepared a very interesting presentation for us. He's going to give us also some examples to get a bit more in detail what it actually means to apply robotic process automation in your company. Kevin van Gam, the stage is yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bommer. So probably you have an automatism here that after 10 minutes, it's automatically switching off. That was probably the reason why the former speaker was cut off. So I hope as well to finish in 10 minutes. We learned already a lot about RPA. And yes, please allow me to give you a few hints about Entity Data Romania, because as Mr. Bommer said, Entity is not that well known in Europe, especially. We are a Japanese company, operating with very, very different brands. So Dimension Data is one of the brands as well. But just to show you this slide, which means that lots of people, and we can help you around the globe. Next slide about entity data Romania, because I understood that I mean, we have lots of people interested in Romania here. We are in Romania around 2,000 people. Lots of female as well. I mean, for an IT company, this 40% is huge. And a short history about entity in Romania has been founded 20 years ago under the name of EBS. And this is how entity data globally operates typically. I mean, they just buy companies, so there is always, I mean, no organic growth. They grow through acquisitions. EBS Romania has been bought in 2013 by Entity Data, and you see here, even so we are a global player, and as Entity we have lots of mid-sized clients. So how we say in German, the Mittelstand is our focus, and this is very important because some clients think, oh, if you contract with a global player, I will be only a small number if my company is not that big. But this is not true. Our strategy is to focus on the mid-sized market. We are offering system integration, so you see in principle all the service which we are offering through all the sectors. Now coming to RPA, we learned already a lot of RPA here. I have a slide showing you how to approach the process, the client. So the methodology is as follows. Of course, you have to identify together with the client the processes. We learned about the different sectors in which it makes sense to apply RPA. Then you have to do a feasibility assessment, of course, usually as well with a POC, which is for the client usually for free. Where the client sees already, okay, what kind of solution is we apply. So UiPath is could be one of them, and then I mean we design the to-be process, and then we implement it, and we have the go live afterwards. But important is that we are always with the client as well after the implementation and see if it works. So this slide I saw already with my fellow speakers in another in one or the other way. So here you see the different sectors and as well some examples. We talked about payroll already. We talked about the supply chain. So I will not do a deep dive to that, and I will directly go to the case studies, which might be the most interesting thing. So here we have a large retail company. It's an Austrian retail company, and we managed to decrease the supplier invoices processing time by 76%. The background is client needed to streamline the supplier invoices by automatic processing, their input and some related tasks. What we are always, and I would like to mention this, what at many clients is the case is that the employees are a bit shying away from these processes. To automate the process because they are fearing that there might be layoffs, and that's why I mean they are not so supportive. Okay, from the management level, of course, there is a support because they see the cost saving, but the employees which are operating these processes, I mean, they are fearing, okay, we lose our job. It's not the case usually, because as it's written here on the right side, usually the employees, in this case 4 FTEs, have been made available for higher added value tasks. So I think this is a very important topic where you have to make clear from the very beginning to the employees which are doing these processes that, okay, you don't have to fear to get rid of your job. You will stay and you will have other tasks. The second example I prepared is a large insurance company. This is well an Austrian big insurance company operating as well in Romania with a high market share. And here we managed important is error-free processing and full automation of the inbound payment allocation. So what was the use case? Customers needed to automate the allocation of inbound payments to individual policies. There have been around 8 to 10 people which did this manual operating. And of course, because it's human, I mean, there was as well an error rate. As Mr. Becker mentioned at the very beginning, I mean, if you do RPA, I mean, you do usually as well decrease the error rate a lot. Usually with 900 to 100% if it's the ideal case. So here again, you see the outcomes. Important is huge cost saving as well, and not only the cost saving, but as well because the processes run now without any error. Here, this is the last slide. I just show you a little bit an overview about the clients where we implemented RPA. You see big brands and as well smaller brands. Smaller brands, you see Romanian brands like Romstal or Electro Group, and as well some Austrian brands, Unica, and as well here Schweighofer. Okay, thank you very much for this, and back to the Vienna studio.
All right, thank you very much, Kevin von Gamm with NTD Data. Very nice introduction into use cases. Which way can it be used in terms of robotic process automation in your IT system? We have questions coming in how it's going to be used later on in the IT system, but right now we would like to do a bit of a jump into the different worlds, so to say, into the physical world, not only data systems anymore. And we talk about industrial robotic and cobot automation solutions, which are being presented by Mr. Wolfgang Herrenhofer, the Sales Director of Cosmec Europe. And I invite Mr. Herrenhofer to go online. He's already with me, and I put over the presentation to you, Mr. Herrenhofer. Thank you very much for being with us today. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Good morning to everybody. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about hardware rather than software. Today with my session, we talk about steel and aluminum and plastics, because many of the companies mentioned before also have their shop floor, and even automation and robotic automation in the shop floor is a very important topic. So you will learn a little bit about the company Cosmec. You will learn a little bit about the exemplary economical approach of what we can do with our technology, and I want to give you a small insight into our inimitable products. We talk very much in today's manufacturing about lot size, independent manufacturing automation. We are living in a time where we do not just talk about mass production. This is actually, it's the past. We talk today about mass customization, globalization, and regionalization of the products. Cosmec, in that connection, has products for all what the manufacturing line really needs. We have products for work holding and fixture building, for factory automation and robotic applications, as well as for injection molding machine, presses, and also for die casting. As a Japanese company, we have been very much related to the Japanese car manufacturers, which in the 40 years drastically changed the view on the production and on manufacturing strategies. Cosmec grew with this company and took this challenge and developed really unique technologies which are now leading and changing the industry also in Europe in terms of higher clamping and gripping forces on the robots, higher accuracy in the manufacturing process, and maintenance-free products. Cosmec is the only company covering the whole, I always call it the whole birth cycle of a product. We are there with our products already at the, let's call it the liquid metal or the liquid plastics in the molding machines. We are then there with our technologies when it's about to cut and grind and drill and mill the parts and the surfaces, and we are there in terms of automation. So Cosmec is the only company in the world which can equip the entire machining process, the entire production process from the liquid metal to the assembled product in terms of positioning, automation, and also initial equipment, which reduces the complexity of the planning, which reduces and simplifies the resource management, and of course, increases the overall equipment efficiency. In all these areas which I mentioned, Cosmec is to be found in manufacturing companies, and this is quite unique. So we are, let's say, a one-stop shop for companies in terms of manufacturing. Core component of all what we are doing in the factory automation process is a very special tool and a very special technology in terms of tool changes. I do not want to go deep into this technology. Just for you, it's worldwide patented, and with this patent, it is possible to bring machining process steps down to the robot, which means manufacturing companies do not need to buy a high number of machine tools anymore, because some process steps they can bring to the robot and so get more flexibility and reduce cycle times. We have brought with us two practical examples. So I always say a video says more than 1,000 words. I have brought with me two examples. One example is an automated loading and unloading of a machining center. Especially in times like this, it is very important that machines and robots can work autonomously. What you see here is a robot changing a fixture on a machining center autonomously, putting back the pallet into a stock when a small slot size of manufacturing is done. Here you can see the Cosmec components, a tool changer as well as a pallet gripper, taking a new pallet for, let's say, the next 500 or 1,000 pieces of manufacturing, bringing it to the machining center autonomously and automatically, place it again on the machining center with a repeatability of 3 micron. Here you can see the pallet or the 0-point system, placing it again, and once the robot is out of the machining center, the automated process can start again. This is an example of a customer from us in Czech Republic, which really had the goal to start an autonomous production while no people is in the workshop. This is the next level of automation. What you see here is a robot which is completely doing autonomously a complete manufacturing process. In front, you see the machining center or the machine table. The robot is automatically placing a workpiece carrier on the machine table, preparing it for automated manufacturing. Then it goes with special technologies to a storage of a certain number of workpieces, bringing it automatically to the machine table, changing again the tool and starting the production process. In this special case, it's a debugging process where a certain number of products can be reworked with debugging of all the edges, making it 10, 100, or 1,000 times, then changing again the palette. Now first reducing, bringing back the last part, then bringing back the workpiece carrier, and then interchange it again to a new series of autonomous manufacturing. Now you can see bringing back the workpiece carrier of this special product series, taking the next one, bringing it to the machine table, and restart the complete process again. All you can see here on this movie in terms of components is Cosmic components, except the robot and actually the debugging tool. So here again, you can see changing the gripper, taking the workpiece out of a basket or from a conveyor belt or wherever you bring the workpieces to this application, put it on the fixture, clamp it down, and then restart the machining process. This is very important because in terms of mass production, it was quite easy to set up a production line. Everything was always running the same. But not only the number of produced parts or cars are increasing, also the variants are increasing. Also the customization is very much increasing. So the total number is getting higher and higher, but the differences between the parts is also coming higher and higher, so which means the single lot size is becoming smaller. With this kind of applications, manufacturing customers really can get more flexibility, get a better usage of their equipment, and reduce cycle times. So AC Bucharest, you can now please stop the video. Thank you very much. So Cosmic is delivering actually everything around an automotive process, from the clamping and locating units to simple locating in order to make sure that the first and the millionth part in the production process exactly look the same. We do everything about fixing the workpiece on a machine table in an automated process, supporting in order to keep high quality on surfaces, and everything around coupling and getting oil and air to the different components. At the end of the day, this means a massive reduction of cycle time and an absolutely increase of flexibility. At the same time, you increase the overall equipment efficiency, which means a better usage for your machines, for your robots, and less downtimes. Therefore, you decrease costs and you enhance your competitiveness and secure the margins of production parts and production plannings. Just a few number of companies which are working with Cosmic technology, not just in Europe, but also worldwide. If you want to see more about this type of application, just visit our local website, which is www.cosmic.eu, where you also can find our local partner and distributors for Romania. So thank you very much for your attention. At this point, I may give back to AC Bucharest.
Yeah, thank you very much, Wolfgang Herrenhofer from Cosmic Europe. That was actually good also with the videos that we could see what do you mean with those efficiencies and other kind of process changes that you have in there in the production process. Well, we heard certain topics from Johannes Becker already, also from Anatoly Delkici, and now from you as well. In order to start robotic process automation, be it in industrial processes or be it in your IT and your data systems, you need to analyze the systems, the processes, and see what are the processes that you can, create more efficiently, or that you can change, or that you can increase security, also kind of industrial automation. And that is being done on the basis of data. But the data is readily available, is not always used. And we have a company, we invited a company with us, Copa Data from Austria, and we have Johannes Petrovic with us, the CEO of Managing Director CE. and Adrian Bilt, who is the General Manager of Creatron Automation. Creatron Automation is the Romanian partner of Copa. And Mr. Johannes Petrovic and Adrian Bilt will introduce us in how can you more efficiently use your data, what can your data actually do for you in terms of robotic process automation, industrial automation, and smart factories. Yeah, Johannes Petrovic, thank you very much for being with us, and I turn over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Bommer, for the nice introduction. It's a pleasure being here and also to contribute to this webinar today. As already mentioned, yes, we want to put data to work. I think that's all about. Data is one thing, but if you can't create added value out of it or insights and really, contribute to nice decision making, of course, data is nice, but not what it's actually being intended for. Yes, as already mentioned, I'm here together with Adrian Bilch, who is the manager of Creatron Automation. He will talk later on as well. And he's a local distributor in Romania. We already work together with him and his team for more than 15 years. Already had very nice successes, and of course, it would be great to do even more in Romania. And maybe we have some people in the audience, that we can actually walk the path with together. And about myself, I'm with Copa now since 8 years. And as already mentioned, responsible for the entire Central Eastern Europe and Middle East region, so resulting in about 30 countries in this particular region. Yes, we want to talk about putting data to work. And I think the best way to do that is actually to talk about actual references, customers that have already done this. So this is exactly what we would like to do. Before that, there might be some people in the audience that are not familiar with Copa yet. So I just want to spend this single slide on our company just to explain who we are and what we do. For those who do not know Copa, we are a software company. We develop software for industrial and energy automation in Austria, so where we have our headquarters. And it is, as already mentioned, being used for automation projects. We do this since more than 30 years. We are a family-owned business, so also acting independently on the market, which is, I think, nowadays quite important. And we develop a software platform which is called Xenon. And we purely sell this software. We do not provide any hardware. We also do not do any system integration. This is done by our worldwide partner network, which consists of about 300 companies worldwide that basically take our software platform, maybe combine it with some hardware, and then deploy a complete solution and the end customers, which is really their business, their profit, also in terms of after-sales services. And we're happy to have around 180,000 installations worldwide already within our 4 key industries that we serve, which are automotive, food and beverage, energy infrastructure, and pharmaceutical. And within this key areas or key verticals, we're very happy to have very well-known companies around our client base, which are, for example, Saudi Aramco, most profitable organization worldwide, but also Roche, Novartis, Pfizer, Mondelez, AB InBev, whatsoever. So a very broad customer base that we're looking at. And I was mentioning we want to talk about actual references and also talk about customers that have already accomplished to put their steps or take the first steps into the direction of a smart factory and really make use of all the information that is on the shop floor and really process it in the right way. And this picture shows us bacon and ham, which is probably not the most innovative product because it's around for hundreds of years and maybe thousands of years. But we want to talk about a manufacturer who is actually creating this food, this ham, this bacon, who actually did a very innovative approach and moved forward with our software platform Xenon. So we want to talk about Behandelt Tirol, a very well-known Austrian-based company with 4 different production sites here in Austria, and they have been founded already 1902. and they're producing 15 tons of bacon and ham per year. And they were actually building also a new site, new manufacturing site, and are now combining this traditional business of producing ham and bacon. They are combining this traditional business with innovation. And what they are now capable of is combining information and data that is coming from the shop floor, from production, from the machines they have in place, also with the entire building automation, and also in the direction of ERP systems, and also to mobile devices, for example, which is very powerful to oversee, on the one hand side, production data, process data, but also at the other side, really business data, and also building information they have within their organization. So in order, what was the entire goal of this? We heard already a term before, which is called overall equipment effectiveness. And this was, of course, also the goal and the challenge for Handel Tirol to achieve and to accomplish this. And with the software platform Xenon, they have basically one environment now to do exactly that. From the sensor level, the PLCs, all the way up to HMI or SCADA solutions. If you look at the traditional automation pyramid, if you will, all the way up to a company-wide control system, also to compare different production sites with each other in terms of this very important criteria and indicator. And furthermore, they are way more flexible now in production, and it also gives them the possibility to save valuable resources and to do energy management. Also by reducing valuable resources like, for example, water, electricity, but also compressed air, which is a very, very expensive resource. So they were also able to save a lot of money out of the reduction of those valuable resources they're using throughout the entire processes. So this is one example that we wanted to share with you today. And I would like to hand over now also to Adrian, who is now telling a little bit more about the vertical and horizontal integration, how this can look like, and also from a hardware independent point of view. Adrian, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Johannes. Good morning to everybody. I will be very short. What I want to share with you some of the main advantages of Xenon based on the example that we have on the architecture screen. First of all, you can see on the bottom of the screen, the main advantage of Xenon is that offers hardware independence at field level. With more than 300 native drivers and communication protocol, you can connect to the majority of machines and sensors available on the market. In this way, Xenon makes these types of systems to be open and to be flexible. Another thing that I want to discuss is about setting parameters instead of programming. Usually, implementing projects requires programming skills. Complex solutions like redundancy, for example, require comprehensive programming skills. Xenon projects are created only by setting parameters. No programming skills are necessary. Many functionalities can be configured in a few simple steps and do not need to be programmed. About Xenon network technology. In this network, you can setting parameters, but you don't need programming. With Xenon, you can configure very easy the network architectures, server and standby server with clients, web clients, etc. Redundant systems can be implemented straight out of the box. Another thing that I want to discuss is archiving data with Xenon Historian and integrated reporting. With Xenon, data can be recorded without interruption. So even when data volumes are high, Xenon delivers high performance reporting. Many companies still manually read data from sensors to use notebooks and spreadsheets for reporting instead of automated processes. Integrated Xenon into the whole production process make it possible for different areas of the company to be brought together in the final reports. Cloud connectivity. Some companies have sites in many places across the globe. Nevertheless, they still need to keep a clear overview of all activity. Xenon offers different options for cloud connectivity. In combination with a gateway, data can be transferred directly from the control system into a cloud database. Security. The last thing that I want to discuss is increased networking and interaction with other systems mean that even manufacturers now have to focus on cybersecurity. Secure systems have to be constantly kept up to date with current security standards. Updates, therefore, needs to be imported without a hitch. Installation of security patches, for example, should not require production to be stopped. And now, Johannes, I will get back to you to finish the rest of our presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Much appreciated. We cannot emphasize too much that it's really critical, especially if you think about smart factory solutions, where you have usually a very heterogeneous hardware landscape, also legacy systems, very old infrastructure, maybe machines that are there for 20, 25, 30 years, that you also actually want to integrate them into one overall solution. And if you have a platform at hand that can actually talk to all these different devices because they're proprietary systems, I think this is a very, very powerful thing. So when we talk about full vertical and horizontal integration, this means from a horizontal point of view, across different production lines or production sites even that are geographically distributed. And from a vertical point of view, from the sensor level or PLC level, all the way up to HMI, SCADA, ERP systems, mobile devices, and even cloud solutions. So a very powerful thing that a lot of customers of ours appreciate very much, especially in times where we talk about digital transformation, where you are facing a lot of heterogeneous hardware and software landscapes. And we're trying to solve those manufacturing problems. And when we stick within industrial automation manufacturing, we know that we have a lot of people which have different targets, different goals, different desires. And of course, we want to make sure to meet all these expectations and meet all these demands. As we come from the OT world with more than 30 years of experience, we were able to get to know these people very well, to find out what they require. And now with the OT IT convergence, of course, new things come up as well that we, of course, consider. But it's basically about getting control over your manufacturing processes. It's about increasing efficiency. It's keeping quality at a high level with all the regulations that you have, with all the reporting you have to do, especially within pharmaceutical industry, but also food and beverage, and to gain more flexibility. We heard from Mr. Herrenhofer about lot size 1. Yes, that's a very real challenge to produce maybe just one unit of an article and then switch the entire production to another product. And this should not take 2 hours, but it should just take a couple of minutes. And then you can already start with the next product, so to say. And combining not only the production process information with all the information around it, like building information, ERP information, I think is a very powerful thing to walk the path of digital transformation. And one thing that I would like to highlight is that you can start small and let the solution grow over time. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions if we do have any, and hand over to Mr. Bommer again. Thank you very much for your attention.
Johannes Petrovic with Copadata and Adrian Dilz with Creatron Romania, the partner of Copadata in Romania. Thank you very much for the presentation. Very interesting. We had a very wide span of topics today, and we do have some questions that came in. And I just wanted to ask before that, I wanted to ask all the speakers to come online again and to show us the videos. And as I saw and as I understand, Anatoly Telkici is with us again. Is that the case? Yes, that's the case. So Anatoly Delkici, in the very last but one slide, you have been kicked out. Was there anything that you would like to add on to your presentation?
Just the fact that those tasks which I was talking about are actually the ones that we cannot identify very easy, and that we can actually squeeze the productivity out of automation with giving a saving time of 20 minutes per person each day. And that was pretty well. So.
All right. Thank you very much, Anatoly Delkici from UiPath. There's one question that I could actually turn to you right away, because you are the deepest into the topic in terms of IT. And the question that we have is, we heard that it is all based on the actual IT infrastructure and software infrastructure, so hardware and software infrastructure that the companies have. But is there anything necessary, kind of any adaptations to the software and hardware infrastructure that the company has? Is there any kind of in-between layer, or are you just putting it on top of that infrastructure?
You will need a dedicated infrastructure, which is not resource consuming. The idea was that as a concept, you can automate it on top of existing infrastructure and applications. But we can share more information about the infrastructure that is needed in order to deploy the RPA as a platform.
All right, thank you very much. But I guess this question can also be turned to Mr. Wolfgang Herrenhofer and also Johannes Petrovic. In the case of your industrial automation that you do you have to go into the systems? Do you have to change the systems of your clients, or do you base something on top of the systems of the clients? We understood from Anatoly Delkici that you need, so to say, a redundant system in order to test it. How do you solve such an issue? If I may start with Wolfgang Herrenhofer and then turn it over to Johannes Petrovic as well, the question.
Thank you. In our field, it's very much about making existing production lines, machining lines more efficient. Therefore, existing components can be replaced, but more of it's about new projects. It's about new setups. It's about new applications. Yeah. Normally, these new applications are planned accordingly for meeting these specific goals, and then they are equipped with the right components. Yeah, but also existing lines can be equipped with this type of technology to make it more efficient.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Herrenhofer. And Mr. Petrovic, can I turn over to you as well?
Yeah, sure. So you don't have to replace your existing infrastructure, existing machines or whatsoever. So you can basically deploy this automation solution into your existing infrastructure. There's nothing to replace. So it can run in parallel. It can run on top of the infrastructure you already have. So there's nothing to replace or something like that.
All right. Thank you very much. So we have one question that I will turn to Johannes Becker, and I will change in front of the camera with him, and I will go to the side. Johannes Becker, please come on stage again. I'm on the side. So we have one question by one of the viewers, which we did not answer so far in our webinar, and the question is more or less into the lead time in terms of you talking to a client of a specific problem that you could improve, where you could have some efficiency gains, where you could solve, the human failure rate, so to say, ratio. How long does it take from the first idea and to talk about solving one problem until the moment when the system really runs live?
Yeah, this depends, of course, a bit on the process. So we had processes where we automated the entire process within 1 day, even especially if it's just a simple process like filling in some forms. And we had other processes like the one I presented to you before, where it took maybe 5 weeks approximately. Important is that we can do anything remotely. So currently, for instance, this week we are automating a process in London for a company from the financial sector. This is absolutely no problem. We don't have to go there. But in any case, we're talking maximum weeks. We will not talk months or half a year or something like this. I could not imagine a process where it could take that long.
Yeah. All right. Anatoly Delkici, your experience, so say, in hyper automation, what do you think about the topic? How long does it take from the moment that you discuss the problem with one of your customers until the problem is really live, or the solution is live in the infrastructure of the client?
Usually it's a matter of weeks. If there is a simple task, we have examples of automating in several days. But from identifying, from designing, re-engineering, and therefore implementation, it could take from 4 to 8 weeks. For example, if we have a process that runs on 15 different systems, it could take maybe 12 weeks, but that stops and the ROI comes back within a year. That's for the most majority of the projects.
Yeah, Mr. Kevin van Gam, entity data, what is your experience in the lead times from a project, first idea, until going live in the system of the client?
I can only confirm what Johannes and Anatoly said. It depends on the task, but usually, I mean, 3 months, or as Anatoly said, 12 weeks is the maximum.
All right, Mr. Herrenhofer and Mr. Petrovic, does that change in kind of industrial automation? Do you see longer lead times? Mr. Herrenhofer, maybe you start up.
Oh, here at Cosmic, we talk very much about hardware. It's actually, in our case, it's producing the items and bringing them to customer after we have made the special support to the right components and to the right task for the customer. So the integration, the installation is more a topic of our customer, but also here we talk about the project times for setting up new lines or new projects. So I think it's not so directly comparable with like software industry. It's more equipping with components. This could be very, very fast.
All right, so Mr. Petrovic, your experience in kind of using the data that is.
I mean, it always depends on the type of application we're looking at, right? If I'm talking about a small HMI solution, or if I talk about a full-blown smart factory solution, you have the full bandwidth and the full variety. So it starts from a couple of weeks, but it can also take a year, depending on which size the application has, the type of application. But maybe Adrian can something add to this from his experience. How he sees those things.
Usually it's taking time to connect to the hardware and this to implement the protocols. But if the Xenon integrator has experience and to have already developed screens for an industry, for example, it could take a few weeks, but maybe more.
All right. One question that I have for Johannes Beck and Adrian Biltz, I'm going to turn it to you. UiPath is a Romanian startup, is Romania's first unicorn, so robotic process automation is being driven strongly by a Romanian company. But you two, Adrian and Johannes, how do you see it? Are the Romanians early adopters in that, or are they lagging behind in terms of automation, robotic process automation? Johannes, please start up.
Yeah, if I may start, we see that Romania is a little bit lagging behind. So if I'm looking at the processes that we have automated, it was mostly for international groups, for their subsidiaries in Romania, or for the entire group outside of Romania. We had some discussions with Romanian companies. Maybe we will start a project in the next weeks, but this is not certain yet.
All right, Adrian, your experience in that?
Also from my side, we are lagging with the West companies. Usually Romanian companies implement already existing system in other countries. And let's say maybe 30% of the new system it's based on Romania.
All right, and the last question, because we're already very late in time right now. Last question, Johannes Becker, what is your experience in terms of cost, average cost of such a process analysis and implementation?
Well, again, of course, it depends on the complexity of the process. Yeah. So if I said that sometimes it takes several weeks, then you can estimate yourself approximately how much it can cost. Basically, we have, let's say, we have two kinds of costs. We have the license costs of UiPath that are usually to be paid every year, and we have our costs for development. But it's like this, that on the basis of the licenses, you can develop a lot of automations. So you don't have to buy licenses for each automation, but you buy the licenses once, and then we can develop a lot of automations on the basis of these licenses.
All right. Anatoly Delkici, do you have kind of any experience? What is the average cost saving that you have in the process automations that you have?
I agree with Mr. Becker. It actually depends on the complexity of the process. If we take medium complexity, it could get up to 50,000, let's say, something like that. So, but 1, 2, or 3 processes of medium complexity.
All right. Thank you very much to all the speakers. I will take over now the stage again from Johannes Becker. Thank you very much for being with us, Johannes. Thank you very much to all the speakers. Very much appreciate that you're here with us. I have to tell also one thing to the speakers that we didn't mention beforehand. When we turn off the webinar, you're all kicked out of the software. So you're not in touch and contact with us. So I want to thank you right away for participating. All the questions that we couldn't answer, we're going to give to you. We're going to also exchange contact details. And to all our viewers, very, very important. If you missed any sequence, if you want to see it afterwards, we're going to upload the video of this webinar within 2-3 days onto our Advantage Austria YouTube channel. And all the presentations, because there was also a question about the presentations, all the presentations will also be made available to all our viewers. So I want to thank you very much, and I thank very much to all our speakers, Johannes Becker, Wolfgang Herrenhofer, Anatoly Delkici, Kevin van Gram, Johannes Petrovic, and Adrian Pilz. Thank you very much. We will exchange the data afterwards. Thanks very much to Austria. Have a nice day, and yeah, Ossi Frumasa in Romania. We wish you all a happy day. Enjoy. Goodbye.